Hi, Siri. I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of PodUp with Matthews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm going to go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Good morning. It's a live edition, a hump day edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. Glad you're along for the ride. Baseball won last night. We had NBA basketball playoffs start yesterday. Night. Very exciting. We'll have JC here. We'll do some Peachland Dental picks on the RBC Heritage tournament from Harbortown. And then we'll have Steve Palazzolo, who covers the NFL on a daily basis, give us his thoughts of the draft, which is next week.
Wow.
And maybe what he thinks some of the Gators that will be drafted.
You're
the Titan tomorrow hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. And we have JC, who is on his back porch today.
Your executive producer and booking team is just fabulous, QB. I mean, to get Steve Palazzolo before the draft, this soon before the draft, I mean, 7 days out, something like that almost, or just a little over 7 days, I guess. So 8 days. Tremendous job there by your executive booking team, your guest list. Watched a little. I did watch some of the NBA last night.
Well,
and
I did as well. So I just kind of happened to flip it through the channels. I knew the playoffs started, so I pull up the Hawks and the Magic start, right?
Orlando.
They give me the starting lineup of both teams, and I'm like, who are these people? then they flash over to the Magic bench, and they tell me who their coach is.
Yeah,
who's been there for 4 years. I have never heard of him in my entire life.
They are 41-41, clinching the 7th seed in the Eastern Conference. Their best player is a guy named Paolo Banchero.
I know him. He's from Duke.
They also have a guy named Franz.
He's from like Michigan or somewhere.
And they had 19,000 people at the Kia Center last night in Orlando. Basketball fever catching the playoffs. The bad news for the Magic is now they get the Celtics in the Eastern Conference. It's a 2-7 matchup. That's not a good matchup for the Orlando Magic, but they made the playoff. On the West, it's Golden State. They beat Golden State beat the Grizzlies last night. John Morant got hurt in the second half. He only scored something like 10 points in the second half. So that really hurt Memphis. Golden State goes to the 7th seed. Now, that does not mean that Atlanta and Memphis are done. They will play the winner at home of the Bulls and the Heat in the East. The Bulls, Billy Donovan's team, going in as a 1-point favorite tonight. I love the Bulls tonight against the Heat as a 1-point favorite. If you like money, you take the Bulls tonight. They're 3-0 against the Heat. The game's in Chicago. The crowd will be into it, and they're only laying a point. Or just go money line, or take the alt line up to 1.5 to 2. But take the Bulls. And then you've got the Mavericks and the Sacramento Kings playing in the West. They will play the Memphis Grizzlies. Those games will be an elimination game. Tonight's games are elimination games. And then that will determine the 8th seed in both the East and the West. And that's how the NBA does it, with 9 and 10 seeds playing for spots to be able to play the top seed in each conference.
So nobody – the two teams that lost last night aren't done for the year.
No, they're not. They get to play one more time. The teams that won last night are locked in as 7 seeds. That Golden State-Houston matchup in the West will be very interesting, and it is a surprise. It is the biggest surprise in the NBA that the Houston Rockets are the number 2 seed in the NBA. In the West, the number 2 seed, the Houston freaking Rockets, they were nowhere near the playoffs last year.
I couldn't tell you anybody that played for them.
I couldn't tell you anything about them. Just don't follow it. But I love watching playoff basketball. I don't know what it is. I can watch the NBA playoffs. Now, the hockey playoffs also get started this weekend. Those conferences are set. Tampa Bay and Florida are going to play in the first round. I can't stand the way the NHL does it. It is wrong. They take the division's second and third place teams and basically play them off. They should seed them 1 through 8. They don't do it in the hockey. And it's too bad because you got Tampa and Florida, who are 2 teams that could easily win the East, playing in the first round. It makes no sense, but it's going to be very intense and very exciting.
Get some Facebook Live comments here brought to you by Meldon Law. Andy says, Shane, how odd is it that Rory and DeChambeau didn't talk at all during the final round of the Masters? Not odd. That's how they do it. Very common.
That's how they do it.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, these guys are so dialed into what they're trying to do out there. They just don't have time for small talk.
I mean, I play in
Don't do
and
it.
JC, as you know, I play in a pretty serious golf game.
You guys don't talk much.
Yeah, there's a couple that I have that are former college golfers, and they don't talk at all.
They don't. I mean, it's kind of like this. This is a business almost. They're at work, and so I know that Will plays for a lot of money, but it wouldn't be a bad thing if I heard a little emotion out of him. He's not playing on the tour, but if he wants to win $30 or $130 or $230, that's important to him.
Well, that's just how he's wired. I mean,
that's how he does his business. That's how he does his business.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. I like it when people don't talk.
Well, but you do a podcast, and all we do is talk to each other. So explain that, please.
Mark's question on Facebook Live. I'm gonna let you answer, then I will answer.
Okay.
Brought to you by Mel Law. He says, QB, is Batesy as much as a goofball as he seems to be?
The answer would be his personality is exactly what you think it is. And yes, the answer is yes.
He is a goofball. That's a great way to.
He's a lovable guy.
No, it's not in a bad way. That's just he's different. Let's just put it that way.
He is, but he's just a solid Gator. I think when you look back at those teams from the 90s and you think about that era of football, there are two guys that stand out to me as guys that just carry the flag regardless. One obviously is Chris Doering. He carries the flag like no other former player that I know of, unless there's somebody else. And then there's James Bates, who has a more humorous side to it and loves the Gators just as much. So, and you guys, all you former players love your school. Obviously, it just has everybody's different in their approach. And boy, Chris really had a great time in San Antonio.
Well, Chris is different because Chris grew up here,
and he did. He's a Gainesville boy, as am I, and so
Marshall asked on Facebook Live, on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, Brother Bill Oliver. Rest in peace, Brother Bill Oliver. Shane, what was his relationship with Steve Spurrier? They never coached together, I don't believe, but Coach will tell you that Brother Bill was one of the most difficult defensive coordinators to go against. He obviously coached at Auburn, Alabama. I want to say they went against each other in the USFL. I want to say Brother Bill was coaching defense for the Showboats of Memphis when Coach was coaching the Tampa Bay Bandits. I think that's correct, but I don't believe they were ever on the same staff. I think they both have a great relationship with one another because they respected one another.
Was he the 92 defensive coordinator for Gene Stallings?
Yes.
Yeah. That team had one of the greatest defenses in history. And you played them and scored 21 points on them. And
probably the greatest defense of all time in college football.
I mean, you'd have to throw them up there at top 5, top 3 for sure. Or top 5 for sure, top 3. Yeah, and maybe the best ever. Those pros that all those guys, all of them went pro basically. Every one of them. It's incredible. So you guys scored 21 points and had them by the short hairs there at the end. So that was the toughest game Alabama played that entire 92 season. It wasn't the Sugar Bowl against Miami. It wasn't necessarily the Auburn game or the Tennessee game. It was the Florida game in Birmingham in 12-degree weather. 20-degree weather on an icy field in Legion Field, Birmingham. And that day, I think, was when the decision was made that we've got to go indoors with this game because of how successful it was. It changed college football and the way we look at the postseason. And then they, literally came back to Birmingham the following year, and Florida won that game the following year. And then they went to Atlanta for good.
Yeah.
Remember all that?
Good move by them doing that.
Oh, it was.
Baron 71 on YouTube, brought to you by Clark. Says, QB, what was the best college team you remember playing against? Well, it's the Alabama 92 team.
Yeah,
not even close. I mean, they had
some of those.
I still to this day would put their defense up against anybody in America.
Some of those FSU teams weren't too shabby.
Oh no, they were very good. They were very good.
My God, Derek Brooks. I mean,
yeah.
You really did see as a player some of the best football teams on the field. On the other side, Georgia was not Georgia back then like they are today. You didn't have problems with them, but man, you saw some really great.
Well, when you go back, and I don't know if they still do it, but the Sunshine Network will replay the Florida State games. You can look out there now, or 20 years later, and like every 22 players on the field at one time
Yeah.
were like playing in the NFL.
Yeah, that's
That's
right.
how good the talent was.
It was insane how tough.
Yeah. And Florida State does not have that talent right now at all.
Oh, Lord, no.
We don't either, but we're getting there.
I think Florida State's total of 6.5, I think it is, or it might actually be 7.5. I think that is a clear under. I don't see them winning 8 games. No chance. No chance.
Yeah. This is that time of the year, JC. Here's another question.
All right.
From Chad. I'm not picking on Chad. I'm just saying it's that time of the year, right? Pretty much basketball's over, spring football's over. It's coming summertime. Chad says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon, who are the top 2 or 3 receivers you ever played with?
Well,
I have to throw my man Willie Jackson because I had him the longest.
Caught everything that was thrown to him, brother.
Yeah.
Not the fastest guy, but man, he caught everything. God, he was good.
Yeah. I had some good ones. All the really good ones came after I graduated.
I thought Harrison Houston was pretty good.
Harrison was solid. He was a
was pretty solid.
Converted running back that we put in the slot.
What'd you think of Barber?
It was okay. Ernie, I would put Ernie Mills. I only had him for 1 year.
Ernie's fast. He was a faster player. Yeah.
Yeah, I had Jack Jackson for 1 year.
God, I remember these days.
So anyway,
Gators. Yeah.
Long story short,
Yeah.
I love my receivers.
Yeah.
All the game changers in NFL guys came after I graduated.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Reich and Idell.
Reich? Ike, Quezzy, and Riedel?
Don't forget Ike. Riedel, Ike. I remember last time we talked about those 2 guys. I called them Reich and Idell, but Ike and Riedel. Well, you were laughing about.
Oh yeah, I had Trey Everett too. Trey was.
Trey was
he was banged up. I had Kirkpatrick at tight end for 1 year.
You didn't have Stacy Simmons, did you?
No.
Okay, he was right before you. Yeah, Kirkpatrick caught everything. Another guy.
Yeah, had him for a year for sure. QC Connects for long-lasting relief, no surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule a free consultation at QC Connects. We got JC here. We're just shooting the breeze today.
But Barone's upset I'm wearing the Lightning hat. I get it, Barone. You're a Panthers fan, Stanley Cup champions. I like Panthers. I do. I do. But I'm a Tampa Bay guy. If the Panthers beat them, I'll root for the Panthers. I am going on the NHL hockey playoff tour. Next week, I will be in Winnipeg, Manitoba for the Jets Blues Game 5. I will also then be in Dallas for the Colorado Avalanche Dallas Stars matchup. I think that would be Game 6 if it's
Why are you going to Winnipeg?
And then I have a Canadian friend who's in Vancouver, and he is. They were neighbors here in the neighborhood. They live in Vancouver. They are from Winnipeg, and there's some other reasons why I have to see him. But I'm going to Winnipeg. It's going to be cold. I'm going to wear my white. I'm going to have a Jets hat on. They're going to play the St. Louis Blues in Game 5, hopefully. And I'm going to be
Why don't you get a Gretzky?
Well, he played for Edmonton. So
that's right, the Oilers. I'm thinking of the wrong team. They're both orange and blue, though.
The Jets are blue and red and white. And the orange
they used to be orange and blue, didn't they?
The Jets? I don't think so. I think they've always been blue and white and red. We'll have a whiteout. I'll take a picture.
About the
hockey. I'll take a picture for you, QB. Hockey playoffs are very intense, very exciting. I know this is not something that the viewing audience really gets excited about, but there may be some folks who do. Barone obviously likes the Panthers. So, it's just fun. The hockey playoffs and the NBA playoffs is a good time of year. And then we've got golf coming up. The PGA Championship will be in May, right? Do you know where the PGA is being held this year, QB?
The PGA, is it at Quail Hollow?
That is exactly right. And you know who dominates that course?
Webb Simpson.
Kills it. Who? That's a good guess.
Webb Simpson.
Well, the answer would be Rory McIlroy, who finishes whose career statistics at Quail Hollow are better than anybody on tour. Here comes number 6. So,
are they having the regular tour event there too?
Yeah, that's that bank one. But
why? That makes no sense to me.
They're going to play the PGA there, QB. It's a great course.
I think I like the course, but I don't know why you play 2 events. I guess they do Pebble Beach the same way sometimes. So
that's true. Yeah, La Jolla and Torrey Pines. They've had the U.S. Open there. They've also had the Farmers. They do the Farmers.
All right. Speaking of golf, let's do our Peachland Dental Gator Nation's.
JLB wants to know if I'm going to the Maple
Charlotte and surrounding areas. Go visit them at peachlanddental.com. What?
JLB's asking if I'm coming to Toronto for the Maple Leafs. You know what, JLB?
Well, I'm sitting here trying to read the Peachland Dental line, and you're bitching about something.
I'm not bitching. I'm excited.
Joe's going to come whip your ass.
I love Joe. Joe. It's impossible for Joe to whip my ass because he loves me so much.
That's right. All right, JC. So I won.
Peachland Dental. Here we go.
So right. I get to pick first.
Okay.
And I'm going to take Justin Rose.
Oh, no, he's not going to play that well 2 weeks in a row, QB. What's the matter with you? You know that.
What?
You think he is?
Yeah.
I tell you what, I don't know how old is this guy Rose. By the way,
he's 44.
By the way, there's another tournament down in the Dominican Republic for the guys who aren't in Hilton Head. So the PGA actually has 2 tournaments this weekend. One in Punta Cana Resort and Club. If you've ever been there, I highly recommend going back. And the other one's at the RBC Heritage, and that's, of course, what we're talking about. And I'm going to go with damn, I just had him. I don't like that guy anymore. I think a guy that's going to come back and play better than he did at the Masters is Russell Henley. I'm going to stick with him one more time.
Oh, I was getting ready to pick him.
One more time, Russell. You got one more shot because he was awful at Augusta. But a lot of people were awful at Augusta.
Give me Aaron Rye.
You always pick that guy.
He's going to hit it straight down the middle. He's going to hit every green just if he can make a few plays.
All right, I'm going to go with Gary Woodland.
All right, I will take Victor Hovland.
That's a good pick. Okay, I'm going to go with Scotty Scheffler.
Oh, see if he can win a tournament this year. Do you want to pick 4 or just 3?
Let's do one more.
All right, let me look at my list here.
Do one more. This is very important. And by the way, guys, you can take these top 10, top 5, top 20 on Hard Rock, and they'll get you paid. All right, we're going for top 10s, top 5s, and top 20s. But a winner once in a while, like we both had as pickers, is very possible.
I'll go with Shane Lowry.
All right, I'm gonna take Glover.
Lucas.
These are just dumbass tournaments that these guys out of nowhere come out.
It's a big tournament. I mean, a lot of these guys could just haul ass and go home, but they didn't.
Well, it's amazing to me how much heavier the field is with top-ranked players the week after the Masters. It didn't seem to go this way in the past, but they all go to Hilton Head, man. They all want to go. So here they are.
All right, so recap the Peachland Dental RBC Heritage picks. I have Justin Rose, Aaron Rye, Victor Hovland, and Shane Lowry. JC has Russell Henley, Gary Woodland, Scotty Scheffler, and Lucas Glover.
And on Friday, I'm going to give you the Peachland Dental NHL hockey picks for the first round. I want to have that thoroughly researched, and the playoff picks, and
your Peachland Dental pick tonight are the Bulls, right?
The Bulls. Lock it up. Just put it all on the Bulls.
All right, if the Bulls don't cover or don't win, or I don't even know what the line is, are you going to show up on Friday on here?
Well, I may not have.
Many of our listeners may lose all their paychecks.
Well, this house may not be. I may have to do it from the street. But I did the damn show from Tires Plus on Monday, so I'm very versatile.
How are your tires, by the way?
I might even do the show from Winnipeg, from the Hampton Inn next to the Canada Life Center next week from Winnipeg. That would be exciting for you, QB. So you never know.
It's just snowing out there?
I'm bringing all kinds of excitement to the show with all kinds of places I'm going to go. And JLB, you can talk me into going to Toronto for the Maple Leafs. I just need to figure out how to buy tickets because that place is nuts about their hockey, Toronto. So hopefully the Canadians treat me well too, because I'm American and right now they're not happy with America. So,
Greg wanted us to know here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, that DJ will start throwing in 2 weeks.
Oh, how does he know that? You think, QB?
I don't know.
How does he know that and you don't know that? You're the announcer.
Maybe he cares to know that. I just say that it's still bizarre to me that he can't throw. Mark
100% chance he will be at fall practice. 100%.
Well, yeah.
100.
That doesn't mean he's still not going to have arm problems, which makes no sense to me. Mark says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel, I live in Knoxville, and Nico has thrown the balls into a tailspin with or without him. They'll be Gator bait. I wish he was still there, honestly. I'm afraid they're going to go get one of these Big 12 quarterbacks.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're 100% right. I said that too the other day. I said it's too bad Tennessee got rid of a lousy quarterback.
I mean, he's bad. He's not very good. I'm going to ask Steve Palazzolo what he thinks because they break down all that tape and
his accuracy.
Still not going to change my damn mind what he says because my eyes tell me he can't.
Yeah, I mean, you told me a long time ago this guy cannot complete a long pass, and he can't
complete short pass.
They're not even close. I mean, you throw a ball down the sideline on a go route, and the ball is 30 feet over dude's head. That's not even. I mean, that's just like wasting it down. This guy is if he's worth $4 million, then I'm a freaking astronaut, and I'm going on the next ship with Katy Perry up to space. Because that, I'm telling you flat out, that guy is not $4 million.
If he's worth $4 million, I need to be the coach of the damn Green Bay Packers.
Brock Purdy made something like what, $900 something thousand in his third or fourth year last year with the 49ers, and he's taken that team to the NFC Championship and the Super Bowl. He barely can scratch two nickels together, as he has a roommate in that awful place in San Francisco to live, cost-wise. It's a nice town, but this guy wants $4 million.
Well, here's what I do say.
Who is his agent? I mean, who are these people that have?
I kind of question Josh Heupel and their evaluation process, because they gave him $8 million deal when he came out of high school. So he made over $2 million, not even playing a snap and redshirting. Right?
It's obscene.
Some of these people just get too enamored with arm strength.
Yeah, I mean, you always say that. You always say that. You would think people would recognize that, QB. You go to the combine, you see Anthony Richardson throwing the ball 80 yards.
Can't play.
And the guys, they're basically going to cut him. They've got open tryouts, QB, for quarterback with the Colts. They're going to cut him. I'm telling you, if they don't cut him, he's not going to start. I don't think it is.
Speaking of big contracts, this day in sports,
got a lot of money
by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life at Campus USA Credit Union. This guy doesn't have a great arm, but I don't know why they paid him all this money in 2019.
Yeah.
And he's a good player. He's not worth this money. Russell Wilson became the highest paid player in NFL history with a 4-year, $140 million extension, including a record $65 million signing bonus.
Well, you know what's ironic is that I understand all of that because he should have and probably would have won 2 Super Bowls if they weren't stupid and didn't hand the ball off to Marshawn Lynch against the Patriots. He wins 2 Super Bowls, 2. So, I mean, at that time in Seattle, he was the guy. He was really good. Now the guy is awful. I mean, Pittsburgh they basically put him in a car and drove him out of town after that season last year. They start off with something like 8 out of 11 wins. They lead the North Division in the AFC, and then they completely go in the tank when the defensive coordinators figured out what to do. And Baltimore ended up winning the division and should not have. But horrible, just awful performances. And these guys get all this money. It's based on their past. It's not based on what they're currently doing, I think, when you talk about a guy like Russell Wilson. It's all about what he did in Seattle. And
I like Russell. I don't think he's one of my top 20 quarterbacks if I had to choose him.
Absolutely.
No. He throws a good deep ball, and he runs around and makes plays. If you keep him in the pocket, he has no chance.
No, and that's what they did to him in Pittsburgh last year. Yeah. That's what they did to him in Denver. I mean, he couldn't even play for Sean Payton. You got Bo Nix out here running around for Sean Payton, rookie of the year kind of thing. And Russell had
because believe it or not, Bo Nix
pretty damn good.
Great football IQ. He's accurate. He can anticipate.
Smart kid. Football family. He went to a football family. He grew up in a football family.
He's I didn't think he could play, but he's done a good job. Jeff on YouTube, brought to you by Quad Plum, says Nico was actually collecting vol money while in high school. All these kids that are like that have been. If a guy's been committed to you for a long time, you are getting paid by that school or that collective. That's at every school, every single school.
Well, it's amazing too. We just finally figured out how to say his last name, and now he's going to go away. Who do you think he's going to play for? I mean, who's willing to?
I don't know. I don't think anybody's worthy. I think it goes to show you that the people have seen him play and they've watched his tape. I bet he'll probably end up somewhere in California because he's a California kid. That's all I can think of. Yeah. I don't think Lincoln Riley wants him. He'd be a terrible fit in that system.
And I can't imagine somebody's NIL throwing $4 million at the guy.
No. Tulane turned him down.
Tulane. And, you got Carson Beck, who got really hurt in the SEC championship game. He's being offered and accepted $4 million at Miami. What are they buying into? A guy with a busted ass shoulder.
Yeah, he may not be able to throw either. I don't understand these people.
What are these people paying for? Where is this money? Why can't they come and buy an annuity from me instead? It's a lot better. Be better for both.
Concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it. We stand by it. A few more minutes with JC. and then we'll get to Steve Palazzolo and actually talk about something that is going to happen next week, the NFL draft.
Draft. So there's a lot of odds, and Shador Sanders is the big. There's right now.
Well, hang on. Come back to that.
Okay.
Did you see where Colorado is retiring Travis Hunter's number 12 and Shador's number 2?
That's right.
Okay. Look, I get it. Travis Hunter won your Heisman Trophy.
He did.
Okay. But there are no other retired numbers at Colorado. You've had Rashawn Salam, who I think has passed away, was a teammate of mine. He won the Heisman. I think number 31, I think that's what number he wore. I don't think it's retired. They need to retire it. Cordell Stewart's number ain't retired.
Great quarterback.
Chad Brown, who was a phenomenal outside linebacker.
It's about Deion, QB. It's all about Deion.
Yeah, it's stupid.
It's all about pandering to Deion. They gave him a contract at Colorado that no other coach in history combined over 3 different tenures could earn. Meaning, if you had McCarthy, Rick Neuheisel, and just call someone else, you lined up their salaries, all 3 of them combined wouldn't be as much as what the University of Colorado is paying Deion Sanders. And listen, he has brought football alive to that. Okay, granted, he's done that, but they haven't won anything, and they're not
13.
Right, and they're not going to win the Big 12. We all know this, but he awakened the Colorado Buffalo football program to the tune of a 500 record, basically. Okay, is that what you're going to pay $12 million for? Would you do that? Probably not.
No.
So, I mean, when Billy Napier was basically on the next bus out of town here, anybody would have called anybody and said, hey, let's pay him and get him over here and this, that, and the other. It didn't happen, thankfully, because the Gators started winning. And, the LSU and Ole Miss games saved Billy Napier. But, and I think the effort against Georgia really helped, too. Even though they lost that game against Georgia, they played their hearts out. And when DJ went down, that game was still tied in the 4th quarter, if you can believe it.
I really want to know if we got any Colorado fans on here, because
on that. Huh?
I just threw Rashawn Salam's name out there.
Yeah.
Because I knew he went to Colorado and won the Heisman because he came straight to the Bears.
Yeah. They won a national title.
How was his – no, he didn't win a national title.
Well,
McCarthy won a national title in like 1990.
90, okay.
But how is his number not retired? And they're going to retire a guy who threw for, 5,000 yards or whatever it was. Whatever.
Anyway, he's going to be – I guess what I was going to say, I almost forgot what I was going to say about Sanders, but he's fallen out of the 9th spot. I mean, some people are now saying he's late first round when they were earlier saying a few weeks ago he was in the top 10 amongst those who were picking teams that need a quarterback and so forth. The number 1 pick in the draft is going to be Cam Ward out of Miami. He will go to the Tennessee Titans. That is pretty much a done deal. And that's what Cam Ward said he wanted. So he's going to get what he wants. And then after that, the teams I care about, like the Jacksonville Jaguars, what are they going to do at 5? They're going to go for defense. They're going to go with offense. I mean, this is the kind of thing you need to get Frank Frangie on here for. What are you doing?
Well, Steve Palazzolo can answer it better probably than Frank.
All right, let's get Steve involved. But I mean, Jacksonville, they need what? Defense, everything. They need everything.
They need a lot.
They need help for Trevor. Trevor needs help, but they can't stop anybody. I think they allowed something like 7 to 8 yards average on first down last year. That's not going to get you anywhere. It was pretty pathetic, their defense, but they can't score either. So what do you do, QB, when you have so many needs and you only have 6 picks in the draft? What do you do, QB?
Well, you should address some of those needs in free agency. And I don't know if they did or tried or what, because I don't follow all that.
Yeah. Well, Steve will tell you.
I would rather try to address my needs with guys that I've seen do it on Sundays.
On offense or defense?
Both. Then roll the dice on the college kid, hoping he can get it done.
Well, you still got to draft somebody. And so, I mean.
No, I get that.
Yeah. And I think, isn't it in Green Bay this year? They're going to be in Green Bay. They'll all be freezing up there next week. It'll be in the 30s. That'll be fun. So is that where it's at? Is it Green Bay?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I think it's at Green Bay, QB.
All right, JC. Have a good
Steve Palazzolo coming up next.
Yeah, we're going to talk NFL draft. Have a good day.
Hang in there, folks. I'll bring you your hockey and NBA playoff picks on Friday.
You better just hope your NBA pick tonight wins, or
Bulls.
people are going to be throwing darts at you.
The Bulls. Go with the Bulls.
All right, We'll see if
Reno.
Billy D can get it done. That's JC joining us on the Titanamore Highline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. We'll take a quick time out. We'll come back. We'll be joined by Steve Palazzolo talking NFL draft. Get your questions ready. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union,
International Diamond Center,
Meldon Law, QC Kinetics, Dave & Buster's, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute, JF Hayden Craft Liqueurs, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Los Linderos Tequila. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sporting Goods, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteak, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Signs, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Okido America, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Nest and Wow, MG&A Wealth Management. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor, call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
Unleash the Inferno.
Naysayers, setbacks, injuries. Life throws a lot of hurdles your way. The key is just keep jumping them.
Welcome back to the International Diamond Center Studios, Miapa Latin Cafe. Discover the ultimate Cuban culinary experience at Miapa Latin Cafe. With 5 locations in Gainesville and Alachua, you're never far from the best Cuban food north of Miami. Back to the Titanamore Highline, courtesy of Comfort Tent. We're joined by Steve Palazzolo, who you can listen to his podcast. He's got 2, Check the Mic and the 33rd Team Football Podcast, covering the NFL 24/7. Steve, how you doing, my man?
Doing great. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, all right, let's go ahead and the draft is next week. I saw your mock draft on Twitter or X or whatever hell it's called. You have the Titans taking Cam Ward, correct?
I do. Yeah, I think that's the expectation at this point, that he's the clear number 1 quarterback. He's not without flaw. You know, he plays some hero ball, plays a little crazy sometimes, but as far as high-end potential and what he's able to do against Florida earlier this year, throwback across his body, interception, terrible play. He's got a couple of those on film, but he always seems to bounce back, has that amnesia that I think you need to play the position. So Cam Ward, it looks like he's pretty locked in at number 1 to the Titans.
For the rest of the quarterbacks in this draft, who's the next one you think that goes off the board?
I still think it's Shedeur Sanders, but you know, there's, as you get closer to the draft, you get some lies that come out and you get some truths that come out. So trying to sort through those things, and there's definitely a camp that seems to think, hey, maybe Shedeur is going to go a little bit lower than expected. We see the Browns and the Giants, who are QB needy teams, making other moves for veterans at the top. You know, so I think Shedeur might fall a little bit, but I think ultimately he's the next guy. He's just not a special type of prospect. He's maybe I hate using the phrase, but the game manager type, who has to do better manipulating the pocket. And then the question's going to be how much of those bad habits that he had at Colorado were because of that terrible offensive line. He was under a lot of pressure early and often, but I think he sees the game well, knows where to go with the ball, pretty accurate. And I think Shedeur is the next guy off the board.
All right, let's talk about the 3 in-state of Florida programs or organizations. The Jags, I think they picked 5th. Who do you think they take?
A lot of people like them taking Mason Graham, the defensive tackle out of Michigan. I don't disagree. I think the Jags would love to trade down from that spot. You hear that a lot at draft time just because it is a good strategy, but it's a good spot to be. If one of the elite players falls or Mason Graham is there, I just think he's an interior disruptor. The only question is short arms. That's the only question on Mason Graham, but that dude is an absolute game wrecker. We saw what the Eagles did on their run to the Super Bowl. It wasn't just 1 year for the Eagles. That is a philosophical move to build through the defensive line. So I think that makes a lot of sense for the Jags at 5 to take Mason Graham from Michigan.
What about the Miami Dolphins?
So they're in an interesting spot now with the Jalen Ramsey news. I think a lot of people had the Dolphins taking an offensive lineman at 13. I still think that's in play, especially with Teron Armstead retiring. They have Patrick Paul, last year's second-round pick, scheduled to be the starting left tackle this year, but he's a bit of a projection. He was a developmental tackle last year. So I think offensive lineman could be in play. Kelvin Banks from Texas is a pretty common pick. Maybe a guy that could come in and play guard year 1 and then play left tackle year 2 if needed. But now that cornerback is even more of a need. I think it was a need anyway, but it's even more of a need. You might look at a guy like Will Johnson from Michigan, maybe Jahdae Barron from Texas, a couple of the top corners in the draft. And then if they want to go interior defensive line, that's another need for Miami where the value matches up. Walter Nolan from Ole Miss, Derek Harmon from Oregon, Kenneth Grant from Michigan. There's a lot of big boys who can rush the passer from the interior this year.
How about the Buccaneers?
Bucks are in an interesting spot at 19. The most common player for me that I think I just love is Jahad Campbell, the linebacker from Alabama. The more I look at Campbell, I think he's the clear top linebacker in the draft, 3-down type of ability, chase and run, very athletic, can rush the passer as a blitzer. I think he's a great fit at 19 for Tampa Bay, but I don't know if he's available there. I think there's a lot of teams in the teens who might make sense for Campbell, and they all have they need defensive help. And like I said, I think Campbell's the only first-round linebacker, but I love that as an option for the Bucs. Get him in there, one more year of Levante David, or as many years as Levante David wants, but you've got a succession plan, but they could also play together. So I love Campbell. And then just the next best edge rusher, if they want to take a projectable player like Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M, who's got unbelievable athletic traits but not great production, get him in the mix on the defensive line rotation, where I think the Bucs they just have a really good roster right now, so they can handle to take the best player that falls to 19.
We got a lot of people here on both YouTube and Facebook asking about Jackson Dart. Where do you see him fitting in? He's, the word is he's moving up in the draft ranks, but how do you have him evaluated?
Dart has just been so interesting throughout this whole process. I was at the Senior Bowl. Coming out of the Senior Bowl, there was all this buzz. Wow, Jackson Dart really showed well. Watch for him in the first round. Same thing happened at the Combine, and I don't know what he did to warrant that necessarily, but he's had a lot of offseason buzz. I like Jackson Dart. I know Florida fans are probably like, what are you talking about? We just saw him implode at the end of the game last year with 2 interceptions and 2 more that probably should have been picked. I was just fielding questions about that last night. Like, hey, did you see the end of that Florida game? And yeah, it was bad. So yeah, I think there's a bit of a roller coaster ride with Jackson Dart. I think he does a lot of things well. Intermediate touch, love his touch throwing the ball, love his feel. But coming out of Lane Kiffin's offense, Lane does such a good job scheming it up, and Dart did not have to read the field a whole lot. So I think there's a lot of projection to him, some tools to work with, but to me, that's more of a second-round type of player than first round.
That's interesting you brought that up because I do agree. I like Jackson Dart, but not many or any of Lane's quarterbacks have really had any success at the next level, and it's because he gets dudes open and it's easy to hit open guys most of the time. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Switching gears a little bit with the Gators that are going into the draft. Let's start at the receiver position first. You got Elijah Badger and Chim Dike. I tell you, the one that I think has a chance to really play in the NFL a long time, and I could be 100% wrong, is Chim Dike because he's a punt returner. He ran a time that I could not believe because I didn't think he was that fast, but he plays special teams. He's been the gunner on punt team. Give me your thoughts on those 2 wideouts.
Yeah, DK, who you mentioned, I mean, I have access to some of the on-field speed metrics and everything, and he showed well in that. So running a sub 4.4, that'll get you an opportunity in the league. Now, there's about 10 or 12 of those guys who ran sub 4.4 at the Combine, so he's trying to separate himself. But DK showed pretty well at the Senior Bowl. I thought he did a nice job there. I think for teams, The Lions do this really well. Their fourth wide receiver is a punt returner who is just to take the top off the defense type of player, right? A couple times a game, you're taking a deep shot. I think DK could do something like that at the next level. And then Badger, very analytically inclined people have Elijah Badger as one of the sleepers in the draft. Really good production, averaged over 20 yards per catch. You saw every time Lagway's going down the field. Oftentimes it's Badger on the other end of it, making plays. I think he's pretty good at the catch point. I think he's one of the deep sleepers in this draft. Every year, you're looking at receivers 20, 25 deep in the draft, and it always feels like the college football is doing a really good job of sending many receivers to the league just because there's a lot in college football that are needed. But yeah, Badger, man, I think he could be one of those deep sleepers in this draft. I think he was really productive and it projects well.
Barone71, I was getting ready to get this. He says, does Steve see Montrell Johnson getting drafted? And also, where does he see Jason Marshall Jr. going?
Yeah, first off with Montrell, I think the running back class is just so deep. It's challenging. He's in that day 3 mix. With the Trevor Etienne, I think is in that mix too. Everyone's all over Etienne or all over the place. Is he top 10 in the running back position? Is he top 20? I think Montrell's probably in that same discussion. When we ranked running backs on our podcast, we did a top 10, and then we're like, hey, here's 8 to 10 more guys to keep an eye on. So I think that's a day 3 type of mix there. And I think Jason Marshall's probably similar, right? When you look at there's probably 10 corners going, probably 8 or 9 corners going by the end of round 2, I would say. At least have the opportunity to maybe sneak into early round 3. Marshall's probably in a similar range where you're looking at cornerback, I don't know, 15 to 25, which ends up as a day 3 type of pick because he's had a little bit of an up and down type of career at Florida.
On the defensive side of the ball, Jimmy on the Titan MR text line wants to know, where do you think Shamar James fits into the draft?
Yeah, he's another interesting one. I think he moves really well. I think production, around the ball quite a bit. Again, I've seen projections on Shamar all over the place at the linebacker position. It's one of those, sometimes those types of linebackers sneak into round 3, round 4. Sometimes they're another day 3 type of pick. But I think I'll say day 3 for Shamar James. Similar to some of the other Gators.
A lot of people have been asking about Graham Mertz. Do you think he gets drafted or will be a undrafted free agent signing with someone?
I think undrafted free agent, but Mertz, watching him through the years, he always felt like the guy that's just going to be lurking around the league, that's going to be playing, preseason final week and playing the whole second half, completing a high percentage of passes. Man, if he could cut down on the sack rate, he's the guy that you go back and you watch. It's like, oh, he completed 75% of his passes this week, but took 4 or 5 sacks, 4 or 5 negative plays in there. If he could just balance that out, he does make a lot of good plays. Pretty efficient throwing the football. So I think he sticks around the league, but probably as an undrafted free agent, just from a scarcity standpoint, there's probably 10 or 12 quarterbacks that have a chance to be drafted, and there's just not a lot of spots available.
Yeah, I think he's going to make a roster. I don't know how many, I know that a lot of the NFL teams, Steve, a few years ago went with the 2 quarterback deal, which was very strange to me. I can't remember how the numbers work out now, but if teams have gone back to carrying 3 quarterbacks and dressing 3 where the third guy does not count against your 42 that you dress or whatever it is, I think he can make it for a few years. I wanted to ask you also, out of all the new head coaches in the NFL, which one walked into the best scenario in your opinion?
I think Ben Johnson with the Bears is really interesting just because he has Caleb Williams, and I thought even though the Caleb Williams, the experience wasn't great last year, it was very inconsistent. I think the Bears have actually done a pretty good job of building a nucleus on both sides of the ball. They did a nice job in free agency this offseason, adding offensive and defensive linemen, which was some of their weaknesses. So I think Ben Johnson, just having the multiple clay of Caleb Williams, who's still extremely talented, showed all those flashes last year, and maybe giving him the opportunity to build in year 2.
I thought, I don't watch a lot of NFL, just whatever comes on the local stations here. But when the Bears played, and I don't know if they have the same skill guys back, I thought they had really good skill guys. I just thought whoever was calling the plays really never gave Caleb Williams a chance.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be exciting because I think Ben Johnson knows how to dial them up. So do they have most of their skill guys back, the Bears?
The top two, they have DJ Moore and Roma Dunze on the outside. They'll miss Keenan Allen, who is their veteran slot, but they have 3 picks in the top 42, so they have a chance to add on both sides of the ball. I'm with you on the play calling. It was just very, very inconsistent, and you could almost see the wheels turning in Caleb's mind, where they're saying, "Don't do anything crazy, don't do anything crazy." You know, like he just wasn't playing the free and easy style that he's used to. So Ben Johnson can maybe find that balance of just go be a natural playmaker, but oh, by the way, you got to hit your layups. You got to have some easy stuff in there too. So they have to find that balance, of course.
Robert on the Titan More text line wants to know, do you think Desmond Watson from the Gators gets drafted?
I don't think Watson gets drafted. I
I don't
mean,
either.
at 464, I mean, he is just a physical specimen. There, at some point though, at nose tackle, you have to get off a block and you have to have some sort of lateral range, say B gap to B gap. I don't think he's ever really had that. I think maybe 20 years ago, when Ted Washington's in the league and there are some guys who are literally just hold the point and let the linebackers make the plays, maybe. I think it's going to be tough for Watson just from a lateral agility standpoint, but man, what a treat it is to watch him just because it's just fascinating at that size.
Yeah. All right. I want to ask you about the Nico situation at Tennessee. Obviously, college football is kind of turning into the National Football League with no contracts and no rules. Um, do you think he is worth $4 million or whatever he's asking for? I personally don't. I've seen him play in person, and I just think he misses way too many open guys. Has no quarterback instincts. I mean, I can't get out of my head the last play of the game against Arkansas. You have to throw the ball in the end zone, and he runs out of bounds.
Yeah.
Just things like that. Just give me your thoughts because you're an NFL guy, but how things are kind of turning towards that model in college football. Just your thoughts on what's going on with Nico.
Yeah, I'm a college guy too, Shane. I mean, I do some consulting for college teams for the portal and everything. It's a fascinating time because they're trying to figure out this NFL model, and as you said, with no rules, with unlimited free agency and free agency twice a year. That part needs to change, and I think everybody has to be so careful. I think when they talk about this, that it's not anti-player to say there needs to be some structure, right? The players deserve the ability to go get paid and to get theirs. When you ask, is Nico worth 4 million? It's just like a vague term. Like, what's the market? What are they paying? Are they, is that market, is it like the NFL where 2 years from now, 4 million is actually 8 million and 4 million becomes a bargain? That's why we're here. Nico went from 2.4. Hey, that's a great deal to, oh, other people are getting 4. I want 4. And I think Tennessee did the right move to call his bluff. I think when we talked about Lane Kiffin being a great play caller, Josh Heupel in that offense is outstanding for college football. It's awful for NFL evaluations. There's no reads. There's space everywhere. They're running into 5-man boxes, like all these things that you don't see at the NFL level. But for college, they do a great job of getting fast receivers one-on-one, and they've had productive quarterbacks year over year. And that's the thing working against a Nico, right? You had a productive Joe Milton. You had a productive Hendon Hooker. And I know it was Nico's first year starting, but it looked worse overall. It was far less consistent than it was with Joe Milton, who was an inconsistent quarterback, and certainly far worse than Hendon Hooker a couple years ago. So that's what's working against Nico, is that system has developed a lot of production at the quarterback position, and I think he did underwhelm a little bit last year given the expectations.
I agree with that. Text here on the Titan Mark text line from George. He says, Steve, should the NFL guys have any concern over the shoulder issues that DJ Lagway has had so far?
Yeah, it's a little strange what's going on here, right? I don't know. I mean, look, with what happened with Anthony Richardson at the NFL level with the Colts, and he had some of the on-field injuries, but just dealing with being banged up. Andrew Luck, his injury through it was just kind of like when you have this mystery injury, especially a shoulder, right? I'm a former pitcher. When you have an elbow injury, it's like, all right, you do the Tommy John, you come back, and you're usually okay. Shoulders are trickier, and still today, right? You got labrums, you've got rotator cuff, you got a lot to deal with there, and usually the shoulder saps velocity more than accuracy, whereas the elbow is more of an accuracy type thing. So I think there's some concern. It's too early for the NFL to be concerned, but when you have a mysterious shoulder injury, you never want those things to linger.
Yeah. You brought up Anthony Richardson. We had a couple of people on the Titan Tomorrow text line and a couple other comments here. What do you think the Colts do with him this year?
I mean, they brought in Daniel Jones to compete. So they brought in Daniel Jones at essentially a bridge quarterback, high-end backup type of money. But it's 14 million, by the way. That's backup money these days. And Jones will compete for the job. And Daniel Jones he's very different from Anthony Richardson. He'll go out there, run the offense, not make a ton of big plays. He can run a little bit, and you can run an efficient offense with Daniel Jones. So Richardson has to be better. He's got to, and look, he's so inexperienced. He's barely. I think he's only played 3 games in a row, twice, maybe once. I mean, going back to Florida too, he just hasn't played 3 games in a row for a while. Certainly not at the NFL level, and he's just young and inexperienced. But I think they want him to win the job. He can do so much special with his arm, with his legs, but he's got to stay healthy. And he's got to hit the layups. He's just got to be more consistent. There was way too many games where he's just missing open throws. Not even reading it out. It's just missing open throws. Same thing going back to Florida. So I think they'll let him compete. But Daniel Jones, if they're looking to win this year, it's easy for them to talk themselves into, hey, Daniel Jones can go out, run the offense, and give us a chance to win. So it'll be a tough competition.
Last thing for you, we'll get you out of here. Andy's question on Facebook Live brought to you by Mellon Law. Do you think Arch Manning goes pro next year and his odds to be the favorite to go number 1?
My initial instinct was yes, but I think when you think a little bit about the Manning family and Peyton, could have come out after his junior year and he goes back to become, as a senior, and Eli was a senior, and that was years ago, right? I mean, it's a different world now, but there is data. There is data that suggests, hey, that 4th year, the extra experience is still beneficial, and you're not worried about giving up too much money. You're giving up money, but you're not giving up too much money in today's, NIL world. And I think his patience sitting behind Quinn Ewers makes me think he might stay for 2 years. We might be talking about Arch and Lagway in 2027 coming out in this, epic quarterback class in a couple of years. I know there's a couple others in there as well. So I'm going to lean he's coming back, that he's going to try to, win a national title over the next 2 years at Texas, and that he's not a lock to come out in next year's draft.
I think people don't realize he is 1,000 times more athletic than his 2 uncles. It's not even close.
Oh yeah, I mean they're completely different players. Now, very few people had the polish that Peyton had as a passer, and then Eli obviously had his runs at the NFL level. But yeah, Arch is a completely different player than Peyton and Eli.
Let everybody know how they can listen to your podcast.
Yeah, it's called Check the Mic wherever you listen to your podcast, and on YouTube. We're going to be live all throughout the draft, Thursday and Friday night. So just search Check the Mic on YouTube and come find us.
Appreciate your time, Steve, and enjoy the draft.
All right. Thank you.
Steve Palazzolo, join us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. There are many car washes in Gainesville, but only one Gallo Car Wash, locally owned by UF alum, and the only car wash that provides NIL opportunities to Gator athletes, with locations on Northwest 13th Street and Southwest Williston Road, and coming soon to Jonesville. Appreciate everybody chiming in and listening. We'll be here tomorrow. Mike Morgan and Brent Beard. Have a great day, folks. Take care.